The airport, this is likely not the news you want to hear because another frustrating day could be shaping up at airports across the country. The FlightAware site that tracks airline data shows that nearly 700 flights inside and around the U.S. have already been canceled today. Nearly 3,000 flights were canceled over the last 2 days, and the airlines are blaming COVID-related sickouts and bad weather for the headaches. Meantime, Dr. Anthony Fauci says a vaccine mandate for domestic flights is something that's under consideration, but is not likely to happen anytime soon.
Right now, I don't think people should expect that we're going to have a requirement in domestic flights for people to be vaccinated. When I was asked that question, I gave an honest answer. It's on the table and we consider it, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. I doubt if we're going to see something like that in the reasonably foreseeable future.
Joining us now to discuss how to deal with this travel nightmare is senior aviation business reporter for The Points Guy, David Slotnick. David, we need some practical guidance here. What's the checklist that folks should follow if their flight is canceled?
Morning. Thanks for having me.
Cool.
So really the trick here is to just stay on top of the problem. If you're flying, the best thing you can do is just check your reservation periodically. Say you're flying New Year's Eve, I would be checking your reservation once a day at this point. Just log into the smartphone app or onto the website, make sure your trip is okay. A lot of these schedule changes are proactive, so they're being canceled a little bit in advance, so you can have some time to deal with the situation.
All right, well, that leads to the question, how can folks plan ahead? If you find out your flight is canceled and you're about to be stranded for multiple days, what do you do to make sure you can eventually get back home? What's your best advice?
Sure. So the best thing is if you do find out early, that means you have some time to contact the airline. A lot of the time you'll be rescheduled automatically, and sometimes that's great and it works and you're done. The new flight works and everything's perfect. But sometimes it's not an ideal schedule. So in that case, you need to contact the airline. The best thing to do usually in that case is just try and call, use a callback feature, message them on social media, and it could take a little while, but at least you're home. You're not stuck at the airport, so you can deal with that on your own time. Now, if your flight's canceled the same day, it's a little bit different. You might need to go find a customer support agent at the airport, find someone in a uniform, and just get some help that way.
Well, I will say the callback feature is a godsend, but if folks are stranded at the airport, that seems like the worst of all worlds during this pandemic. Because, usually, look, holiday season, flights get canceled because of bad weather. We got that. But now we've got that and a pandemic. So just give folks some perspective. How does this all compare with holiday travel delays in the past?
Well, so far, it's a little bit really on par with some blizzards that we've had. It's actually not even the worst holiday travel season that we've seen. If you remember back to 2013, there were a series of blizzards that just absolutely knocked travel out. You mentioned before, we're at about 3,000 canceled flights right now. In 2013, it was actually 10,000. So the situation's definitely been worse. Right now, this compares with a fairly moderate to major blizzard.
Well, the very thin comfort that comes from realizing that it could be worse. But let me ask you this. If folks find out the flight's been canceled and they're stuck at the airport during a pandemic, what should they do? From a health standpoint as well as a practical standpoint, stick around, sleep on the floor, or get out of Dodge and wait to fly another day?
It really depends just on what flight they can get on. A lot of the time, the best thing to do might be avoid the big line queuing up a customer service. And if that's the case, what you can do is maybe find, a gate agent for a different flight and see if they can give you a number to reach customer support. A lot of the times there's an emergency number that's faster than the normal line just because you're at the airport. It's more of a priority situation. You can also try heading to the airport lounge. A lot of those customer service agents are a little more empowered, and usually there's a shorter line.
Well, and obviously, if you're inside, please wear a mask. Final question for you. How do you think this is all going to play out? We're on day 4 of delays, at least.
I think it's going to compare to the spread of the pandemic around the country. I think that as different cities see different hits, airlines are going to keep being affected by it. Right now, it seems as if cancellations are leveling out a little bit, but if the virus spikes in other cities and around the country, I imagine it's going to be the same with more pilots and flight attendants getting sick.
That's not the cheerful news I wanted to hear heading into New Year's, but thanks for telling us to us straight. David Slotnick, appreciate you very much.